Hello and welcome to Conversations. I am your host, Melanie Mack, and I am so thrilled to be here with you once again. As you all know, this is my favorite day of the week. It's the one time that I get to sit and share space with these extraordinary women that have incredible stories to share that I believe deposit so much goodness and knowledge into our world, things that women in particular need. So I want to get into the background of my guest today. This woman is phenomenal. And so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about her and then I'm going to let her talk. But Sherelle Jackson is here. She has served as an executive in the field of finance, accounting, and operations for over 20 years, working in industries such as professional services, real estate, construction, and manufacturing, in positions such as controller, VP of finance, and chief financial officer. She's also known for her remarkable business acumen and her commitment to developing leadership attributes in others, streamlining business operations, and automating processes that drive growth and increase efficiency and bottom line profit. To strengthen the Southern California community, Sherelle established a philanthropic team at Square Milner in partnership with organizations such as Girls Inc. of Orange County, Human Options, which we'll talk about, the American Heart Association. I mean, it goes on in terms of her board leadership and service. At Square Milner, she has played an integral role in the firm's growth and success, executing multiple mergers that have expanded the firm's footprint and increased revenues. Sherelle, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Melanie.
How are you?
I'm doing great, girl. I think you are so awesome. We
Thank
just had
you.
a couple minutes at hearthebomb.com. It's a pleasure to meet you.
It's such a pleasure meeting you. And I haven't even said everything that you're involved in. We're going to talk about leadership and heels. And I mean, there's so much. So how did you get into the world of finance?
Girl, I don't know. I guess when I was young, I was a penny pincher. Nothing like that now. But I think I just happened to be good at numbers. But more importantly, I'm sure it was because of my mom. My mom always worked in the area of leadership as it relates to finance, budget, fiscal services. And she afforded me an opportunity to watch her run the school districts from a fiscal perspective and to learn accounting, bookkeeping, financial statements while I was in high school. And by the time I graduated, it was just something that I could slide right into. So it just worked out in my favor.
And you are running things. I mean, CFO, it's just incredible. Why? So your mother obviously had, a huge influence in the work that you're doing today. Mm-hmm. And you're a mom.
Yes, I am.
Right? How do you, personally, I don't believe in work-life balance. I have 3 sons and it's impossible with the level of work that I do. And now that they have their own social lives and, they're a little bit older. Now they're 20, 15, and 2 are 15, one is turning 16. So it's a blended family and it's a lot of work, but it's so much fun and it's so rewarding. So do you believe in the work-life balance?
Girl, you ain't said nothing but a word. Okay, so let's check this out. I have 3 sons also.
Okay.
And I don't have no help at the house. It's wonderful. They have been amazing. And no, there is no such thing as work-life balance. I believe that you find the balance that works for you. And
great point.
For me, I'm a driver naturally, but the thing that I think keeps me balanced is peace. Mm-hmm. And so it's not really about how much I have on my plate. It's how I execute it and how I feel about the things that are going on in my life.
Right.
That's where my balance comes from. Girl, if you start looking at the task list, you'll be like, ooh, wee.
I know. Listen, I understand. So tell me about, what was your first job? I mean, you talked about learning accounting and bookkeeping and all of these different things from your mom and watching your mom being fiscally responsible. What was your first job? Like something that you love doing that has nothing to do with your career today?
Well, let's see. My first job I was very young. I was 13 years old.
Oh my goodness.
I did a bad thing and I stole a work permit in the office
No,
because I
you
worked in the office. I lied and said that I was older and I got a job
To
as
work.
a cashier. I got a job as a cashier in a fast food place. And girl, the gentleman who ran the work studies program at the school
Yes.
walked into the fast food place and saw me in there, knew I wasn't 16. But that was my first job.
Okay.
But I've worked in the area of leadership, whether I was a cashier in a
Right.
store or a store manager. But I think the jobs that I enjoyed were in fashion because I love
Nice.
fashion. So
I can
I worked
see
in
that.
fashion a lot for a long time, doing fashion and, you know, things like that. So
Yes. Yeah.
that was the fun stuff.
So tell me about, I mean, this is it. I know that it takes a lot of heavy lifting to build and craft and navigate the career that you have. Tell me about your journey in becoming a CFO, VP of Finance, accounting.
So let's see, how's that journey been for me? It's been really rewarding.
Has it been
I'll
a
say that
cakewalk?
first, but it has not been a cakewalk. It's been hard, and it's still hard. You know, the other day I was telling my prayer partner, I said, you know, today is hard. This is like a hard day for me, but the journey has been one really that started off probably not necessarily because it was an aspiration to become what I am now that I'm all grown up. But it was really because I had a desire to probably please and earn.
Okay.
Because when I was young, I had low self-esteem and I didn't really know it. So I became an overachiever. And I think that as a result of that, I pushed myself very hard to either gain or earn whatever it is that was missing inside of my little bitty heart at the time. And I worked very hard as a student and got good grades. And I worked a lot as a young person. Really wanting to be independent, probably having a desire to do more than I needed to do to maybe earn more love and respect from my mom or whatever it was that I was going through, thinking maybe if I was alleviating some things with her, that would make me good enough.
Right.
You know, sometimes I think we go through that. And
We do as women.
yeah, and I think that in my brokenness, to be candid with you, it afforded me an opportunity to achieve some greatness in my career. It didn't come without a lot of heartache and heartbreak.
Okay.
Made a lot of mistakes along the way, had a lot of hurt that I experienced. But the journey really came from being a young girl with low self-esteem, striving for probably love and attention or whatever that was. And as a result of that, achieving some greatness in my career and some healing in my soul.
That's beautiful. You know, some will allow things to, you know, you talked about pushing through your brokenness. Others will allow whatever is broken in their lives to completely crush them, and they're unable to push through and thrive. But it seems that you used your brokenness to fuel you. How did you do that?
You're absolutely correct. And if I could just digress a minute, you know, it's interesting because, you know, I've had some experiences with individuals who are broken and individuals that I've also hurt. And when you're watching, you know, brokenness, it's sad. And I know that I have been in that place, and I thank God that I'm no longer there. I think that the thing that fueled me, to be honest with you, Melanie, was Jesus Christ.
Okay.
I mean, I was out there. I always did well in school. I always had a pretty good job. You know, I have some gifts that God has given me, but I was a hot mess, girl. And I think the thing that really fueled me is the fact that I got to know God for myself. I had an opportunity to learn how to live a life that encompassed forgiveness and grace.
Okay.
And so in that, I was able to forgive others, those who had hurt me, and forgive myself for mistakes that I had made. And as a result of that, it gave me an ability to be, to extend grace to others, have a little more understanding. Not that I'm there all the
Sure.
time, but
Well, none of
you
us
know,
are perfect.
Yeah, but I think that that's what really fueled me. And then when you kind of transition to becoming a mom, you know, I became a mom. I married someone who I thought was going to be the man of my dreams, and that collapsed 3
Okay.
kids later. And as a result of that, I was a single mom starting off in a new career at Squire Milner, where I am now.
Wow.
And my babies fueled me. It's like I was going to do whatever I needed to do.
That's right.
To be the best mom that I could be, to provide for them and make a way. And it started with what I could pour in their soul so that I could ensure that they would be whole and have peace and happiness, understanding that mistakes will be made, but forgiveness will be granted. And then really wanted to provide them with opportunities that weren't as difficult as they felt like they were for me.
Okay.
And options.
Talk about it, Sherelle. Talk about it. Talk about, single motherhood. I want to get into that. I spent a number of years married to, a guy that I thought was amazing at the time. And, we have two.
Why has always got to be amazing at the time?
Because he was.
I'm just saying no, because I'm going through the same thing. It's always amazing until it's not.
Until it's not, But we're cool. We're cool. It took a minute. It was a journey. But, we have two incredible kids. But I never imagined that I would ever be a single mother. I mean, that's just not, I don't think anyone ever sets out to be that.
I don't know about nowadays. But I'm just saying, girl.
That's another story.
Yeah.
If they knew, they would not choose to be a single mother. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a hard road. But so I knew that I didn't set out to do that. And it was definitely a struggle. And I learned so many things along the way. And thank God I've just been blessed with children that have never given me, as a mom, they've never given me any heartache.
Isn't that amazing? No,
it's nothing but God.
And it's almost embarrassing because when you are sitting with people and they make comments like, well, girl, you know how boys are. And I'm thinking, well, how are they? Because mine are awesome. Right. And it's not a mask. It just kind of is what it is. I mean, I ain't mad that God decided to drop that favor on me. You know what I mean? They give me grief sometimes because I want you to, could you just clean your room or go clean the patio
just
or
normal things.
Make sure that your grades are tight. But the simple fact that I know where they are each day, that I have an opportunity to talk to them on a daily basis, that we actually have a love relationship and that they honor me and others and don't give me no problems. It's like, wow, I'm happy about that.
That's such a blessing. And I agree with you. I hear other parents talking about their kids or other people's kids and, what a terror someone is or what they're being challenged with. And I just think, sometimes they'll say, oh, it's just age appropriate behavior. And I think to myself, well,
not in my house.
I just haven't experienced that. I just, thankfully I haven't experienced
that.
Now
I've experienced some other things, but not that.
Okay. So talk to me about, you talked about being married and then, suddenly being a single mom and you're still navigating your career. How challenging was that? Was that a weight on you or talk about that? Walk us through it.
Well, yeah, it's challenging and it still can be. I mean, I'm lucky. My kids are older. My young men are older. My eldest son is 26 and we are.
You do not have a 26-year-old sitting up in here looking 26.
Girl, don't get it twisted now. You said we live because, I might need some water in a minute because the sister will get a hot flash. But thank you.
I have mine right here. But, Private Summers.
My oldest son is 26 and we're planning a wedding. So that's great. My middle son is 24 and he's navigating in college and we're praying on that scholarship for football.
All right.
And my baby will be 18 on Saturday and he just
oh my goodness,
committed to Metro State in Denver. So it's now I'm looking toward being an empty nester next year and I'm wrapping my arms around what that's going to feel like and deciding that, I might entertain that whole marriage thing again. At some point in time, if somebody decides to love me enough and stay and do the ask, because they can love you but not stay, or they might be but don't really love you, or maybe they ain't trying to ask. There's a lot of dynamics. But really navigating being a single mom, it's been challenging. And I think that, to be candid with you, there's been a lot of days where I've cried, where I've been sad that I couldn't be everything that I wanted to be and that I couldn't be everything that my children needed me to be. There have been times where just the responsibility of the role has impacted my relationships, not only with my family, but with friends and other
Sure.
relatives who are not as close to me, to walk the journey with me and have a perception of how my life should be as opposed to how it really is.
Okay.
And so that's been damaging in some ways. But with my children, we have an intimate relationship. And with the people who not only I love, but love me, we have an intimate relationship. And what I mean by that, Melanie, is that we talk about what the journey looks like so that we can successfully walk through it together.
Yes.
Because it's not going to always be what you expect for it to be.
Right.
And
It
so
never
there were
is.
times where I couldn't be there. There were times where I had to sit with my children and say, okay, what is this important to you that I'm there, or I'm going to be running late here, or fax me
Right.
your homework and we're working it out over the phone, or I may have to make dinner in the morning. We used to, when my kids were little, I would call it, I don't even know if they realized this, but it was important that we had breakfast together because a lot of times we couldn't have dinner together.
Okay.
So really just trying to do what I was capable of doing, and then praying with my children was really
So
the
important.
catalyst to trying to navigate through that. In my job, Melanie, I'm now a partner and the COO and CFO of Squire Milner, and the demands are heavy. It's a lot of responsibility. It's very, very rewarding, but that comes with a cost.
Yes.
And that cost is time. And I think time is your most valuable asset.
Listen, I view time as a commodity.
It is, girl. It is. And you have to have the right people in your life to understand that which you are sacrificing when it comes to time.
Right.
And I think the most difficult part of my journey is that I haven't had very many people in my life who have extended me the grace because I haven't always had the time to be what they needed me to be. And I think that
Ooh, I
that
get
is probably the most heartbreaking. But yet I have to accept it, because until you've walked in somebody else's shoes, you don't even have any idea of the burdens that they may be carrying.
Absolutely.
You know.
And, people are so quick to say, well, if it were me, I'd do X, Y, and Z.
Or how about you not that busy that you can't do such and such? And I'm thinking, Lord Jesus, I wish I wasn't. It's like, but this is kind of just where it is at this moment in time.
Right.
And what I realize is that the journey that I've gone through has been a process. And sometimes people judge you on the moment or the situation.
Sure.
But girl, I'm on my way through, and so it's been hard to answer your question. It's been really, really satisfying and rewarding, though.
Of course.
It has been. It's been very satisfying and very rewarding, and a lot of sacrifice. But, everything that glitter ain't gold, and it's, I always say, don't get it twisted back there behind that orange curtain, girl. It ain't no joke back there. It's a lot. It's a lot of challenges. It's a lot of people not treating you the way that you should be treated.
Okay.
There is a lot of backbiting. There is, and then there are these amazing people who will lift you up and who will reach for you and who will help you grow. And I have had the pleasure of meeting some dynamic people who have changed the fabric of my life, have helped me to start Leadership in Heels, to believe in myself and not just work because I needed to and because I was a giver and a pleaser.
Yes.
But work knowing that I bring something to the table and what I bring is valuable. And
that's a
had to go through that
mindset shift. That's definitely a mindset shift. I want to go back for a second. You talked about essentially having conversations with your sons along the way. Mm-hmm. Just you said they've walked this journey with you, and I think that's critical because as moms, we tend to take on this guilt. I think every working mother, whether they're working in the home or out in the workplace, tend to take on a guilt when you can't be at every little league game and every award ceremony. So I love that you talked about that and just communicating with them.
Right.
I think children can handle more than we give them credit for.
People can. And I think that what happens is that we don't invest in our relationships. I mean, we say that we love people, but we don't have these conversations with people.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, my relationship with my children is not compromisable. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not like one day we're going to decide I don't want to do this no more. You know what I mean? You
Right.
can do that in a relationship and with a girlfriend or so, if that's the kind of person that you are.
Right.
But if you're a ride or dyer like I am, then you want to be able to sit down and figure out, how can we make this thing work if it's not working for you? But sometimes you may not even know that it's not working for somebody.
Right.
And so because they were my children, I had to check the pulse periodically and ask, are you okay?
Okay.
Is there something that you need? You know, I recognize that I'm not the best mom in the world, but I'm doing the best that I can. And my children literally go through the journey with me. They come to my office. They've worked in my office. They've sat and watched me work.
Yes.
So they know what I do, and they know the demands of the responsibility. And so they give me grace. And
I love that.
It's been great. I'm really grateful for them because I need it. You know, Melanie, when you're at the top and people have an expectation of you.
Yes.
You know, you're a C-level executive or a partner or entrepreneur or whatever. Somebody wants to call you.
Right.
And so they have this expectation of you. The press is on. You know, people have a tendency to believe that you can do all things for all people
That's
at all
right.
times. And most people at the top begin to believe that. But honey, I'm just a girl. You know, I'm just a girl who, you know, I say thinks like a man, work like a dog, act like a lady. But I'm just a girl, you know, and I think it's just important that people know that about you. Makes the journey a little bit easier.
Sure, sure. You mentioned you were kind of getting into it, but you were peeling back the curtain a little bit, you know, from sitting, you're in the C-suite, you're running the C-suite. What does that look like navigating, you know, when things get challenging? Who do you turn to for support? Do you have mentors that you've had along the way? How do you navigate those waters?
You know, for a long time, I felt alone in the C-suite. You know, I've been single technically for, gosh, my son will be 18, so about, 15 years. You know, I had a relationship that, kind of really didn't work out. And then, I've dated multiple people over the years, more than I would like to acknowledge, but it is what it is, but really, when I look at singlehood, you either are, you are over here and I'm over here, or you unified. And so for me, I've been
agree.
single. It's not to mean that I don't, date or haven't had people in my life, but, that real looking out for you.
Right.
That's a difficult thing for people to do. Women and men, your girlfriends.
Yes.
And so being in the C-suite, it's hard and it's lonely because you are at the top. And you don't have anybody in the organization that you can really just turn to. In fact, I had a situation where something looked like it shouldn't have to the naked eye.
Okay.
And instead of somebody who is your sister's keeper picking up the phone and saying, hey, I'm taking a look at this, and this maybe shouldn't look this way.
Okay.
They'll send a mass e-blast out.
Of course.
To say, hey, this shouldn't look this way. And so if you're not careful, you'll get caught up in that game. And so for me, I have learned to take pause and then come back and say, well, thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Okay.
Now, while I might have liked for them to bring it to me another way, like maybe you could have just picked up the phone and called the sister.
Right.
If you felt like you needed to know, let all the other executives know.
Since
okay,
you put me
it's
on
all
blast.
good. But, I know what I'm doing. And so I'm able to go through and navigate through and then make whatever adjustments I need to make and own my mistakes when they're made and count my wins when I win. And so
that's important.
Girl.
Taking pause for that to celebrate yourself. And some people just step right on over the win and just, because they're pressing, as you mentioned earlier. And so they're not present to a win and the wins that they're experiencing along the journey.
And we can really focus on that which we don't have instead of that which we do. And I was that girl at some point in my life, I'm sure, but I'm not anymore. There are a lot of things that maybe, and I won't even say a lot, there are a few things that I would like to accomplish before I leave this earth.
Sure.
But for the most part, if God decided to take me today, as well with my soul, because I'm comfortable with who I am and what I've accomplished and the differences that I've been able to make, because really that's what the journey is all about. And, kind of just going back to your original question, I have had the pleasure of meeting some amazing people.
Yes.
And I wouldn't be remiss if I did not mention that. I mean, God has dropped some superheroes on my team in terms of my staff. And then also as it relates to friends and mentors.
Yes.
There are some outstanding people in my life that have really encouraged me and saw something in me before I saw it and forced me and pushed me to be able to do what I'm doing with you today, because I couldn't always do that. I was always uncomfortable, but as I mentioned to you earlier, now I'm comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
And that took a journey. It was a process to get to that point. But it's because of those mentors and friends and people who really cheer you along the way and inspire you. And I mean, I have some people I just go to for inspiration.
Yes.
I may just text the person and be like, I need some inspiration.
And don't you love having your prayer warriors?
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I have to have my prayer warriors. That is just first and foremost. That's they're a part of my village. So that is critical to me, just to know that people are praying for you and that they have your best interest.
Right. And somebody that loves you enough to tell you the truth, even if it hurts.
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing. That's what it's all about. It's all about, I'm going to sacrifice the relationship to save your soul. And so if you walking around acting and behaving in a manner that's, not representing who it is that you really want to be, then I need to tell you that.
Right.
Not be afraid and intimidated by how it's going to impact our relationship. Because at some point, it's going to show up as love.
Absolutely.
If I do it in love.
Yes. Yes. Susan Taylor, years ago, when she was the editor-in-chief of Essence magazine, she said that you can say anything to anyone in love when you speak it in love. And I truly believe that. Many years ago, there was a time when I just couldn't get out of bed. I was going through something with a company that I launched. And one of my girlfriends, as I have two people like this in my life, one of my girlfriends came over and we were, doing a Costco run or something. And I had my scarf on my head and just, looking crazy. And she said, Melanie, turn around, go right back in your house, take that scarf off of your head. We are not leaving until you do something with your hair. And, and I was just it was just difficult to just, my body just felt so lethargic and I just couldn't move. But she had the courage to tell me the truth. She said, listen, we're not going anywhere until take that scarf off, do something, and then we'll leave.
Now that's a real friend.
And I said, it's going to take a minute. She said, I have all day. You go in the bathroom. Let me know if you need help. And, when I came out, my hair was, looking, it was okay. But she said, now we can leave. She was like, now I see you.
And, that's so important because that's a real friend.
Yes,
and I think
it is.
Somebody who compromises the relationship by not being open and honest with you, by abandoning the relationship, by they're not speaking to you or talking about the issue they have with you with someone else or just going silent.
Right.
Whatever the situation is, love doesn't show up like that.
No.
And I think that sometimes we're afraid of what we call confrontation or conflict.
Yes.
But I think that our ability to press through because we care about the relationship is what's important. And I think when I go back to my children, in my mind, and I hope in theirs too, I think that's why our relationship is so solid.
Yes.
Because, it doesn't really matter if you don't want to hear it. The reality of it is I care about you. And so
there you go.
I need you to tell me, Sherelle, that dress you're wearing is might be a little bit too late. You might need to not go and put that one up in the closet and not wear that again.
Yes.
As opposed to, girl, did you see her in that dress? Where in the world did she think she was going with that? I want to know that. I want to be able to ask a question and be told something. And I think kind of going back to the other comments you made, when you're in a position where you're at the top, sometimes people think that just because you're at the top, that means you know everything.
Yes.
But you don't.
And that you don't need support.
Right.
Right.
And you do. Because at the end of the day, that's what you do. They ain't got nothing to do with who you are. Right.
But I think oftentimes people forget that. Mm-hmm. They forget that. And, a girlfriend of mine said that people will say, oh, someone has changed. But she said it's really not that they've changed. It's that person has changed in terms of how they view you.
Right. Well, yeah, when people start calling out, well, because you are such and such or you are such and such, and then you're thinking, I wasn't even thinking about the fact that I do that. Or somebody brings up the fact, well, you went to this school or you went to that school, and you're like, well, okay, what does that have to do with the price of tea?
Right.
But it does there becomes this scarlet letter that you wear because of your accomplishments. And if you're not careful, you will start to minimize who you are as a person.
That's right.
And I did that for a long time, playing down the gifts that God gave you in order to appease others. Instead of being able to stand up in what it is that God gave you and pray for others.
Right.
Because you are who God created you to be. So
That's
go get yours.
Shine on.
Yeah.
I want to talk about leadership in heels. And I have to put my glasses on so I can see.
Girl, me too.
But you are the founder of Leadership in Heels, Women's Speaker Series, which brings women together in an environment where they can have authentic conversations about matters of the heart that directly impacts every area of a woman's life. You're focused on creating a brand for women that represents the authentic leader with a mission to motivate, inspire, educate, equip women to see themselves as leaders and pivot their lives forward personally, professionally, and in their community. Yeah. Was this just a divine download? How did you come up with Leadership in Heels?
So many years ago, Deb Bocase, I believe that is how you pronounce Deb's last name, asked me to come and speak at an event. Gosh, it's been probably 10 years ago. We were trying to think about when it was, and she asked me to be a speaker to talk about being a female leader in a male-dominated environment.
Right.
And at the time, I was the only female leader in that environment that I'm in now. And so when I got up to talk, I said, well, I'm just going to talk about being a leader in heels. Because sometimes when you're a female leader, especially in a male-dominated environment, you are damned if you do, meaning if you want to behave like a man, and if you're too girly, then, you're not strong enough. So trying to find your way in that whole process is a whole nother show. But I spoke, and I called it Leadership in Heels. And so now you fast forward, and from that event, there was a gentleman in the audience, Scott Hamilton, who heard me speak and asked me to speak at his executive next practice. And from there, and it just kind of unfolded and unfolded and unfolded. And so now you fast forward to 2015, and an amazing woman was brought into my life, Rhonda Shortino. And she wrote the book Succeed Because of What You've Been Through. Outstanding book. I recommend anyone to read it. And we became friends. We spent a number of mornings together having coffee as I was kind of going through my journey. And my mentor, Russ Williams, also was mentoring me on understanding the fact that I was on my way to the ascent, that life hadn't stopped then.
Okay.
And so one of the things that I constantly was hearing about was the impact that I had on people when I spoke. And so through that, I decided that I wanted to start a speaker series, and I just wanted it to be for everybody, because I believe if you have one person in your life that you influence, then you are a leader. And we have a tendency to segment people. I get invited to all sorts of C-suite. It's for the executive, for this. But what does that mean? I'm an executive in my home. You could be an executive with your sisters and brothers.
Talk about it.
You could be an executive with your friends. If you are the go-to person, then you're leading. And so I believe that when you bring women together and we can peel off the mask and get real in love.
Yes.
Then we can pivot our lives forward.
Yes.
And so that's why we started Leadership in Heels in July of 2015. What's behind the makeup, the brand new you. And I talked about what's behind my makeup and how I pivoted into the brand new me. That scared, insecure girl that had been abused and raped and all of those horrible things that I went through, and how you pivot into the strong woman of courage that you are. Still a little scared every now and then, but that doesn't mean that you're not strong.
Right.
So how do you do that? And we unfolded into Design Your Life, Start Something Big. We had Pernell Spears Lopez, who wrote the book Design Your Life, talk about how she walked away from that big IKEA job as a C-level and only female executive into creating and designing the life she wanted to live. And how do you design that life and start something big? And Rhonda talked about, being a surviving because of what you've been through, in spite of it, instead of letting the things that you go through stop you from becoming who it is that you're supposed to be. So it's been great, girl. And we have one on November 30th. Leadership is not a dress rehearsal. The show starts now. And what that means is that.
Say that again.
Leadership is not a dress rehearsal. The show starts now. And what that means is
curtain call.
We procrastinate on becoming the best me that I can be. And
why do we do that?
I think we have time. But if you look around at what's been going on in our world today,
listen,
time is running out. So if you're ready to get your leadership game on, you need to start. And we have a dynamic speaker, Kim Shepard, who's going to be talking about how you can pivot into that leadership and begin to apply the gifts and tools that you already have, and then gain some additional tools to become the leader in your home, in your office, at the C-suite, if you're starting out in college, whatever it is, wherever you are. Because it's time for us to embrace one another and get that show started. So it's going to be great. I wish you could come.
I know that's November. It's November 30th.
November 30th at 7 a.m. It's a Thursday morning. It's a breakfast.
Okay.
It's from 7 to 9. We start and stop on time.
Now, is this in Orange County?
It's in Orange County. But, girl, if I could drive all the way out here, you can get on that freeway and go the other direction. But it's worth it. It's worth it, Melanie. There are some amazing people who attend. We have great breakfast, wonderful prizes. Our last event, we gave away tickets to go see Hamilton.
No, you did not.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
The coveted Hamilton tickets?
Yes. So it's a great event. And you have an opportunity to learn and grow.
That is powerful. Well, I'm just, I'm so inspired by what you're doing and how you're giving back to women and how you're showing up, just how you show up for life. I think it speaks of volumes. It's such a testament to who you are as a person, who you are as a mom, who you are as a woman, who you are as an executive, and, a praying woman, which, sometimes people are afraid to talk about that. They kind of keep that in their, in the rear view.
I figure if I don't say it, I'm scared. I'm scared. And I think that, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity because, like we said earlier, people do see you according to who they think you are.
Absolutely.
And you would be surprised how many people, as they get to know me, will make a comment like, well, I didn't know you were like that. And I'm thinking, well, what did you think I was like?
Right.
But you don't even really know me. Or judging you from something that you used to do or you used to be. And not really giving you or them an opportunity to explore something new and great.
Absolutely. Les Brown, in one of his many books, he said that there are some people that are never able to erase the old tapes of you.
Yes.
And, and some people have they've moved on, they've evolved, they've grown up, and they're just not that person that they once were, that they once were.
I have to coin that statement.
Some people are just stuck in the past.
Mm-hmm. I have to coin that. I'm writing a book, and in my book, it's a book of quotes. So I need to get that one from Les because that is so true.
Yes, that's a great one.
And then after each quote, I'm telling the story, and I have this amazing woman and this fabulous cousin, Shavana, who introduced me to Susan, who's helping me with my book.
Okay.
And so I want to make sure that I use that quote because that one's great.
That's a good one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good one. What kind of advice would you give to women that are looking to, make their way in finance? That's such a, or at least the perception, such a challenging field. So for those women that are starting out, what advice can you offer them?
I would say twofold, whether you're looking at your own personal finance or professional, I think that we really do need to look at that. I think it's about being responsible first and foremost, and And then I think in any field, but especially in finance, that you have to be qualified for that which you desire to accomplish.
Right.
I mean, a lot of times we want these particular roles, but we don't have the qualifications. And then once we think we're qualified, we stop learning. And so we have to continue to learn. We have to stay on the cutting edge of gaining knowledge so that we can always exceed the expectations of those in which we are operating with, where you're working for someone or with someone or whatever your situation is.
Right.
I would say that find a mentor who has done what it is that you want to do.
Okay.
Somebody that you aspire to be like, and that's okay. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're not proud of who you are, but each of us have goals and accomplishments and dreams. And I know for me, when I was thinking about speaking or writing a book, I reached to those people who've already written a book,
right,
or who've already become professional speakers to find out, well, how did you do this? How did you navigate through that? So be sure to have somebody in the area of finance. And the other thing that I would say to women is find a male sponsor. Not just a female, but a male. If there is a field that you want to go in, whether it's general accounting, like myself, where you become accounting manager, controller, CFO, or COO, or whether it's on the professional side where you become a CPA and you're doing tax or audit work or forensic accounting, make sure that you find somebody in that area of expertise that will walk you through the journey to succeed. Not that you can ask questions, but that's going to take you to the next level. So if you just aspire to be a CFO or a COO, then you need to get a CFO or a COO that's going to work with you. And then a CEO who can sponsor you when that opportunity becomes available.
Outstanding. I mean, you're just dropping jewels, wonderful information. And I know that our listeners need this. I want you to talk about the importance of board service as well. You serve on several boards. I see that you're also a member of NABO, the National Association of Women Business Owners. I'm also a member and on the board there. How important has that been, and how has it been, I guess, added value to your success?
You know, I had a woman, Gloria Zigner, tell me many, many years ago that I needed to stop hiding behind my desk. It was earlier in my career, probably 10 plus years ago. I was working, 60, 70 hours and then going home, taking care of 3 kids and just trying to figure it out and just grinding all the time. Stress was high. It was just crazy, Melanie. And she told me I needed to get out in the world. I needed to get out in the community.
Yes.
And so I had the opportunity through another friend of mine, Gianna Drake Carrison, to meet Girls Inc., which is an outstanding organization.
Oh, yes, it is.
Serving girls and teaching them how to be strong, smart, and bold. And as a result of finding an organization that supported a passion of mine, I had the privilege of joining their board for many, many years. And being a victim of domestic violence in my younger age, it was just fitting for me to join the board of Human Options, which services women and their families who are victims of domestic violence. And so I joined Human Options, and I am now on the board of Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Orange County.
Nice.
Under the outstanding leadership of Melissa Beck, and they are serving children. So as you could tell, I have a heart for children and for women.
Yes, you do.
That's really where my affinity lies, along with music. And
wait a minute.
Yeah, girl, I love me some music. Give me a beat. That's all I got. And so I've had a privilege of sitting on those boards, and as I term off of one, then I have an opportunity to join others and to sit on a few advisory councils and serve at my church, at Saddleback Church.
Outstanding. Talk about, when I was looking at your just incredible bio and, all of this information about you, one of the organizations which you've mentioned, Human Options, I wasn't familiar with. And can you talk to our listeners about that?
Oh, yes. Unfortunately, 1 in 4 women suffer at the hands of domestic violence, and every single one of us, those of us sitting in this room today and those that are listening and that will listen later, have either been impacted or know someone who has been impacted by domestic violence. Now, that doesn't mean that they shared their story, because most people don't report it. They are embarrassed. Society would
Right.
tell you that it might be your fault. But what Human Options does is it's not a place where you just go for shelter, but it is a place that restores hope and rebuilds lives. And what they do is it starts from the inside. When somebody has beaten you down, not only physically, but emotionally,
Yes.
spiritually, in every way, you lose yourself. And most people judge you, or that's for those people over there.
Right.
But I will tell you that I know people who are under service who have been abused. I lost a very good friend of mine to the hands of her husband, who murdered her, who was a C-level
gosh.
executive. Domestic violence does not discriminate.
That's right.
And so Human Options is an outstanding organization that provides shelter for women, from emergency shelter to long-term shelter over a year. But more importantly, they provide counseling. They provide healing. They work with the families, the
Okay.
children, the women. Each of the women have advisors and counselors. They have all sorts of therapy. They help you to get back on your feet in terms of providing you with clothing and ability to be able to dress, and providing you with the skills that you need to put together a resume for people who have been living in a home with a man and having worked, and getting you
Yes.
back into the workplace. They rebuild you from the inside out. Human Options is amazing. And it is a board that I've been very, very proud to serve on. I'll be ending my term in December 31st, but never my
Really?
relationship.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's, thank you for sharing that. I think as women, we need to know that there are resources like that available. And it is something that, it's one of those things that women, they don't readily discuss.
Right.
Even among women or their friends or family, sometimes they're just suffering in silence.
Well, yeah, we suffer in silence with so much. Hurt is hurt. It doesn't matter how it shows up. If you lost your
Right.
job, you get ready to lose your home, your car, you've lost your husband and wife to death, or a relationship ending, or, someone has just really stole your soul and put their hands on you or your children. We don't extend empathy to one another. And so we almost make people feel bad about the situations that they have found themselves in. And I just am so grateful that Human Options really provides a hand up. And for any woman that's out there that is in that situation, or may know someone, I would encourage you to call, to look up humanoptions.org on the internet, dial 211 for emergency services, or reach
Yes.
out to me at SherelleJackson.com, because it is important that we support one another. That's the most important thing that we can do.
Excellent. Thank you for providing that information. And you mentioned, how can our listeners get in contact with you? You mentioned SherelleJackson.com. If they want to reach out to you, are you open to mentorship? What reason would they have to reach out to you?
So let me see.
'Cause,
Am I
some
open
people
to, or
listening-
can I actually do it?
You're right. Because some people are going to have a list.
Well, I'll tell you what. At Leadership in Hills, we are actually building a list of resources.
Okay.
Because one of the things that we do at Leadership in Hills is we not only have these amazing speakers or panelists, but we also highlight a woman in business, and then we donate a portion of the proceeds to a nonprofit.
Okay.
So every event we support a nonprofit, and because of this, we've been able to build this host of resources that support the women in our community. But as it relates to having a need, whether someone needs a resource, whether somebody needs a voice or an ear, I can be reached at SherelleJackson.com is my website.
Okay.
On social media, I'm on Twitter at Sherelle J. And Sherelle is spelled Sharrell. My mom was very creative, so it's at Sherelle J on Twitter.
Okay.
Sherelle Jackson on Facebook, or Leadership in Heels on Facebook.
Excellent.
And then on Instagram, it's leadership.in.heels.
Okay. That's a lot of information.
I know, girl. Isn't it? Social media
there
is
are
killing
no
it.
excuses. No excuses. If you are interested in getting in contact with Sherelle Jackson, you know how to reach her on Facebook. She talked about Twitter, Instagram, Leadership in Heels. No excuse. Now, whether or not she has the time,
I'm
That's
really
something
praying
else.
about that. I got beat down by a few people in regards to the way that I spend my time, and so all that I could say is that I'm sorry, but I am really working hard at trying to get back to people as quickly as I can, and working with the resources that God has given me for those who are supporting me and helping me.
Yes.
Because there is a need out there. There's a great need. And whatever place that I'm supposed to be, if I'm not the one, then I can definitely point you in the right direction.
Excellent. So what's next for you? If you could wave your magic wand, what's next for you? I know you're writing a book. You still didn't get into the music. You just hinted about music. Do you sing?
Girl, no, I wish. I just love music. That's like I'm like a little kid, right? You brought up music. I'm like, oh, my giddy. I love music. I love music. I love it. That's like my connection.
Okay.
I connect with people through music, and I love it. That's how I spend my time at night, in the mornings.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's my thing. But I don't sing. I used to, but not anymore.
It just
so now go back and tell me what the question is. You told me about music. Oh, so you said what's
so
next?
I was saying what's next because you're writing a book.
Yes, I'm writing a book.
Your keynote. I mean, you give keynotes all over the
keynote.
country, really. So what's next for you?
So locally, I'll be speaking through the end of this month and November at a number of places. I'm going to be speaking for Biola in November. I'm going to be speaking for Cal State Fullerton to their leadership scholars in November, which is awesome. I'm actually going to be speaking, I was telling you, to the C-level executive men in Texas for the electronics. So that's going to be crazy. That's going to be funny. So I have a lot of events that I'll be speaking, but when I think about what's next for me is really trying to spend some time with myself. I'm in this 40 days of prayer right now with my small group, and I am praying about what God has next for me. I have some heart's desires in terms of some personal things that I want to accomplish in my life.
Sure.
Some peace in terms of getting ready for my children to leave, and then what God might have for me in terms of, Sherelle herself.
Yes.
Finishing the book. Work is stupid crazy. I'm challenged with, I'm opening 2 offices as of 11/1, one in the Bay and one in Encino.
Oh, my
Completing
goodness,
2
Sherelle.
mergers. I got a couple ahead of me coming up in January and expanding 3 offices. So, girl, it ain't no joke. It's crazy. But
stupit crazy.
Stupid crazy. But it's all good, right?
Yes.
It's all good. But I think the what's next is peace and lasting relationship. Love, joy, I think that's really what's next.
Yes.
And then a bestseller.
Oh, I love that. I love that. No matter the order.
No matter the order.
No matter the order. That just think that's wonderful. Sherelle, it has been such a privilege and pleasure to sit and just have this conversation with you. I thank you for making the trek and being here in studio with me, particularly with your schedule. I just appreciate you being here. And thank you so much. You know how to reach her, Sherelle Jackson, SherelleJackson.com. And I thank all of you for listening today, and we will see you next week. Have a beautiful week.